Up to. Okay, Zot Torah Connections. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. We're speaking about Das. Which is what we're entering into now. Chachma, like we explained, is the initial blast of light, of consciousness that comes into you. It happens because there's an open curiosity to the beyondness of the world. It's so important to keep Chachma open. Chachma is the place, like they said, Reb Nachman is a nachal noiveh mekor Chachma, like a stream flowing out of Chachma. That's one of the reasons why Reb Nachman had a hard time writing down any Torahs. Why? Because in the world of Chachma, the second you write it down, there's already a new Chachma. It's just like, it's already like, I can't write this down, it's old stuff. It's like, old bread. It's gotta be fresh, new. Chachma is fresh, new, electrified all the time. But it's just that, it's very raw. That's why Reb Nachman would be the Chachma, and Reb Nosson would be the Bina. Because what did Reb Nosson do with the Chutei Halachos? He took Reb Nachman and he just unwound it. He's like, let me tell you what the Rebbe is saying. The Mishnah would be Chachma, and the Gemara would be Bina. Okay? The Chumash would be Chachma, and then the Mishnah and the Gemara would be Bina. Even though the Mishnah is very, very Chachma, it's very hard to pull it out of Bina. Because just what it is, it just says it. The Gemara is such Bina. It's pulling it apart, it's explaining it. So the Bina is when I take an idea, I take a concept that came into me, and then I unwind it, and I see that it's full brilliance. What's a more mature revelation, when I see something in Chachma or I see something in Bina? Bina, why? Because in Chachma it's still very raw. In Bina, the idea becomes viewed in all of its brilliance, in all of its splendor. Men are generally more Chachma and women are generally more Bina. That's generally, again, men and women, each man has dominant and recessive energies. But generally, a Chachma response would be, so, you call your father says, like, how was your day? You're like, it was good. Like, okay, cool, good, you're doing good? Yeah, good, it's fine. Okay, you need your money, you're good? Okay, yeah, it's fine, thanks. Bye, love you, son. So you speak to your mom, and it's like, so how's your day? Good. She's like, what do you mean good? Like, what did you eat for lunch? Like, who'd you sit with? Who'd you talk to today? Like, how's your chavrus? How are your roommates? I heard there was that thing. So it's fine, like, everything's good. No, but like, what do you mean? Like, tell me more. Give me more details. I want to know about your day. I want to know stuff, things. So, you're like, if you want for an hour. Now, it's amazing. I asked you this thing, like, how's your day? Good. And I asked the girl, how's your day? Oh, Tati, I'll tell you about my day. When I cuddle with my kids at night before bed. So I give how's your day? Good. It's fine. It's good. So my name is Gold. I'm like, how's your day? I have to tell you something. I got a lot to tell you. God, and this thing happened. And I'm like, okay, yeah, good night. No, I have to tell you the details. What happened? It's like so Chachma is very straight, and it's like clear. It is good, but it's not as beautiful. It's not as elaborate. That's Bina. That's why Gemara learning is a lot of Bina. And until a person appreciates Gemara, there's a shallowness to their life. I'll say that. Because Gemaras start to unwind everything. That's why Tosfos is special. It's like Bina gone nuts. Is you just see like everything. You're unwinding every nuance, every detail. And like no stone left unturned. If there's an idea, I want to fully grasp it and understand it. That's the world of Bina. Okay, we gave them examples like, I want to go to Tzfat. Chachma. Okay, so then what's the response? What would Bina say to that? What's the plan? How are we getting there? Where are we sleeping? What are we doing? And the Chacham's like, let's go to Tzfat, right? So the Zohar says that Chachma and Bina are Shnei Reim Deloy Mispashrin, that they're two lovers, that they can never be separate. They're madly in love because they realize they need each other. What's Bina without Chachma? Nothing. There's no input. And what's Chachma without Bina? Flashes and shallow in a certain way. Like, big talk, but no big follow through. So it's like a guy's got great ideas, but no follow through. Doesn't know how to actualize it and bring it into potential. That's why, man, before he gets married, it's like all the potential, but then the Bina of the wife just starts unwinding the vision and maturing it, and starts building something out of it. So Chachma and Bina are very intimately bonded because they know they need each other. That's how our consciousness works. Okay. Then there's another element, which is once I've thought about these things, once I've thought these things through, and I've worked my Chachma and my Bina, but I haven't yet made it, I'm not connected to it yet. The classic example, the guy hears a Chachma, unwinds the Chachma, here's the Mishnah, here's the Chachma, pulls it out with the Gemara, and then the second he walks out of Shiur, he's like, so what did some behemoth in short pants do last night? How many rebounds did he get? So the Rebbe's like, what? Hey, we were just holding a shot of we're mamish in the river. Like, what? How did you get from that to the short pants? Maybe he lost the other part of the pants in the river. I don't know. Like, what happened to them? So, what's the emes? The emes is the only reason the guy is not like still in the shot of nar is because he doesn't have das. Okay, that's what we're talking about now. Das takes the intellectual things that you know, but makes it emotionally relevant. That's the best definition I've ever come across for das. It's taking it's taking intellectual ideas that you've worked through, but making them emotionally relevant. Because everybody knows you don't actually change your life until you're emotional about something. Ideas don't get you to change. Ideas that generate emotion get you to change. That's why the marketing industry knows we don't even tell you anything intellectual. In fact, we'll tell you things that could be completely against intellect, as long as we have something that will just rev up your tithas. That will literally get you to buy anything. Nuts, right? Crazy. Why? Because there's no das. Das is intellectual ideas made emotionally relevant, then you change your life. You tell the guy, smoking's killing you? I mean, like cigarettes. That is definitely killing you. I'm not talking about pure tobacco leaves. I'm talking about cigarettes, formaldehyde, and all sorts of death chemicals. The guy's like, I know. So why don't you quit? Just, I can't. I started and it was too late. Do you want to quit? Yeah. There was a big tzaddik of Ben Sion Bobover. He used to chain smoke cigars. That's a lot of smoke inhalation over a lifetime. This is in the time that they didn't know that that much is not so good. So when the Surgeon General's report in 1963 came out, it basically came to the conclusion that smoking kills cigarettes. So he, of course, when he heard the news, he was smoking a cigar. So he took the cigar and he put it up, and that was it. Because for him, his intellectual reality was, if God doesn't want me to, smoke, then it's completely emotional, and then you act on it. That's called das.
What about other men that do smoke?
So many that if they can't stop, then they have a heter. If they can't stop. And there's a difference between chain smoking and, let's say, pure tobacco. I'm not giving any heterim here. Okay, make that very clear. But when it says about the tzaddikim that they used to smoke a pipe, there's a lot of it's not so posh. They weren't smoking, Marlboros in the thing. There's a pure tobacco leaf in a pipe, in like a meditative experience. Again, this is not, I'm going to make this very clear, this is not any heterim, don't go out and buy pipes. But it's important to make a distinguish between that, the tzaddik, sitting with a pipe, and being misboining on the smoke going up and like slow, and the guy like outside like, and the guy like freezing. Are you okay? Like, it's like a minus 1,000 in like New York City. The guy's like, gotta get a hit, gotta get a hit. Like, you're not a healthy human being. I'm so sorry. That's disgusting. Like that. So that's. I hope that you're mature enough to see a bit of a difference between the two situations. We hear? That's a refined point that I'm making right now. And so again, to answer the question, many, if they already have and they can't stop, many will say, I wish I did stop. I wish I didn't get addicted. And others, like certain tzaddikim, who they have their own cheshbonos on how to use it properly, and none of them are doing it like this guy we're talking about right now that's got to go to minus 1,000 weather because he needs a hit. Or his wife's talking to him, he's like, he's too jittery to talk to her because he needs to smoke a cigarette. If it makes you not function in life, then certainly something is going very, very wrong with it.
Rabbi, could you say that when we say das and like this emotional thing, it's like also tapping into what motivates us? Like what's going to move us more than just like emotion, because like I can get emotional about a movie and cry and then I'm over it.
So remember, das is always coming from Chachma and Bina. So das takes the Chachma and the Bina. Das is a very interesting thing. Das is another word I heard from one type, is beautiful, is experience. It's experiential. It's when an intellectual idea becomes very experiential to me that I start to act on it. He also explained it so beautifully that das is like a mediator. You notice in the system of Chachma and das, right? So Chachma on this side, Bina, and then das. So das is interesting, it's in the middle. And then you have, right, Chesed, Gevura, Tefillah, etc. So when you have Chachma and das, so das is like the interface between the Seichel, right, and the Midos. The Midos are all the emotions. So das becomes this mediator, which is, I'm receiving something, ultimately from Keser, Chachma, Bina, and then das says, well, what should I do with this information? Should I go and use this in a place of love, of moving towards this idea? Or should I go to a place of recoiling, of gevura, of fear, of I better stay away from this? So for example, if a person's dating somebody, and he went through the Chachma and Bina, this person, the right person for me, and it's very, very clear. So here, the das will navigate him toward that you should move closer, you should be emotionally excited about this. But using the same example, if the Chachma and the Bina got to a place this is not the right person, this would not be a healthy relationship, then the das would not say, well, you better show her more love. Rather, das will bring you towards gevura, saying you're going to have to stop this for everybody's sake. So das becomes like a mediator. It's a very good way to look at das. Is he takes the information and starts to make it emotionally relevant, and also shows what's going to be the right expression. Or will there be this much chesed and this much gevura? Das begins to now make things and charge up the emotional response to intellectual ideas. So getting back to the movie thing is not going through your intellect. It just goes right to the heart on the side of Nefesh Bahamas. So the heart gets all excited, marketing goes, just bypasses the godly soul, goes right to the animal soul, and it just says, oh, you're thirsty for a Coke. And it's like, I'm thirsty for a Coke. He didn't think about that. There was no thought process that went into that. You should buy this Chevy because there's a girl on the trunk. Really? I should? Well, and then people do. People mamish do. The answer is because they don't use their godly souls. They don't use Chachma Bina and Das on the side of their godly soul. Okay, let's see that inside. V'hadasu miloshen ha'olam yodas chava. Das comes from the language of intimate connection. Like it said that Adam knew Chava. When it means that he knew her, it means that he was intimately connected with her. But who loshen is kashrus? It's the language of connection, this chabus, a chibur, to be connected, to be friends. Shemekasher daitoi, that you connect your das, bekesher amitz, a very powerful connection. Vechazak me'oi, look at these lashonuses. Like totally connected to the idea, the chachma bina that came into you, the shir, the shataf nar. You mamish get so connected to it, the yitoka, and you literally like shtup your mind into this thing so deeply, like takua in it, machshavta b'chayzik, powerfully. Chayzik means be'echus, like with real strong quality connection to it. Begedulas ein sof baruch hu, on that point, the time of God is the time of God. Not on 2K, but on a point of God, a God point. And he doesn't take his mind off that point. Similar to what we're talking about today in Yom Kecha, like it goes into that meditation in it. Ki af mishu chacham v'navayin. Even a guy who's a chacham v'navayin, ayis chacham bina. B'gdul seim so baruch hu. Im lo yikasher daitoi, but if he doesn't connect his das to it, then what happens? He's the guy in sheer that the second that he walks out of it, because it was just like intellectual acrobatics, the second that he walks out, he's like, what's for lunch, boys? What happened to you? You were mamish spinning around Tanya Shiur today. Yeah. That was sheer. I'm not actually like totally connected to that, like in me. Das means you get totally connected to it. You can't stop. You're in it, you're connected, Adam and Chava, like intimately. That's why he uses that, like so connected. If he does not connect his das, so he said b'chayzik means with strength of quality, and then b'hasmada means for a period of time. So one of our das push-ups, to quote my dear Rebbe and friend Daniel Katz, one of the das push-ups that you can do is after shir, before shir tomorrow, pick a shir, and when you walk out of shir, try to keep speaking about shir for 5 minutes. It's going to be a mamish push-up. It's going to be like benching mamish 500 pounds. Try to do it. See how long you could actually keep it going. Obviously, one of the ways to do that is don't. What's the first thing usually after shir? Shir's done. Yeah. How many notifications just popped in the last hour? As if like my life depends on it. Like I better look at them right now. I call these geshkalas das bazookas. They destroy das. It's like an AR against das. Mamish. These things destroy das. Because you're trying to train your das to stay connected to an idea. And that's why so many people have problems with relationships, because they can't stay focused on the person. They're like just bugging out all the time, like getting up, walking around. So much of this, the ADHD, the ADD, so much of that is just, it's das problems. That if we can start training our das, turn off notifications. It's like you're meeting notifications with, you have something very important, like to call your wife on. But otherwise, turn it off. You don't even know what Tweedledbug's Instagram account is talking about. It doesn't matter. Just destroying your das. So the das push-up of the day is to, for 5 minutes after a learning session, to try to stay totally in it. If a person does not do this, lo yoyled benafsha yira ve'ava mitis. Look at that. Remember, what did we say? Intellectual ideas will generate emotion. If there's das. If there's no das, then a guy can do all the intellectual things. But he can be totally emotionally cold and indifferent. That's one of the reasons why people can learn Torah nowadays. But where's the real struggle? Davening. Because davening is all emotion. Davening is so real. Davening is ultimate das. So that's why everyone's like, davening, it's like oh, come learn. But davening, because the das is out the window. There's nothing left when you daven. It's just connection, just das. And it says in Egypt, our das was in gullus. Our das was in gullus. We knew we were slaves, but we just couldn't do anything about it. And therefore, if a person does not have das, he'll never really be pumped up about things. That's why one of the best ways to get a guy excited about learning is actually just leave your phones off or learn all night. Do something where you go a period of time and you're just in it. You don't stop learning for a period of time. All of a sudden you feel like, wow, this is really good because the das was activated. Lose yourself in the learning. Otherwise, it could be a person will learn his whole life, but it was always like choppy. The Chazon Ish is a famous way that he said, the guy came up, I don't feel my learning. He said, how do you learn? He said, I learned. He said, great. He said, there was a guy who was trying to boil a pot. It takes 10 minutes to boil a pot. Everyone knows this. So what happened? He took the pot, he boiled 9 minutes. He took it off, check it, 9 minutes. Then he put the pot back on. Okay, 1 more minute. There you go. He waited another 9 minutes, took it off. Okay, it's not boiled yet. I don't know what's going on. Put it back on. Another 9 minutes. The whole day he's trying to, so he said, I tried that, how long were you boiling the pot? 9 minutes plus 9 minutes plus, the whole day I'm trying to boil the pot. He said, you never boiled the water because you never left it on to boil. You kept taking it off and it cooled down. So we learned, cool down. I'm in shit, cool me down. Those bizzes is an AR-15 destroying das. Every second the bzz goes on, it's gone. Be lidded. Leave it in the dorms. Just leave your phones in the dorms. Otherwise the das is just fades away. I need announcements. No, you don't. Don't worry. Just be, you know the schedule. You'll know what to do. Last line to finish the chapter. Ki im dimyoyin shav. If a person has that real das, he's living in la land. And his emotions just take him into all sorts of places. Because it was never emotion that was built out of chachma and bina and das. It's emotion that was built out of the marketing industry and Netflix. And that just pulls him around. So he imagines things, but the emotion was never authentically generated from that's like, she loves me. How did she break up with me? I can't believe you love one in a love like this. When did you know her? Like 2 weeks. What'd you guys do? We just watched Netflix together. It was so real. No, it wasn't. She would have been horrible for you. He would have been horrible for her. It's destroying us. The alkena das ukiyim amidas. Look at this. All of your midas, everything depends on das, because that's the point. That's the entry point of authentic intellect coming into your midas. And we said midas emotions actually change you. Meaning, all of the good, the midas of love start from ava and all means of year. It's all nishrash. It's all in its roots in year. Our boys say it's all about das. Yes.
Why is the feel of das?
Because das means just connection. Das is connection. Ezehi tefillah, ezehi avodah shebalev. The Gemara says, what is the avodah? The service of the heart, emotion, feeling. Havahu tefillah. It's daven. The entry point to all the feelings is through das.
That's heart to head, not head to heart.
First you understand. The whole of davening is set up. You start understanding, and then it becomes revved up with emotion. First you have to understand, who am I davening to? I'm davening to you, Hashem. There's an intellect there. There's a you, Hashem. And then that clear understanding coming into das is like the whole davening is. Once I figured that out, and I dased it. I dased my that's why davening is much more the midos. We should be mamish zoicha. Try the das push-up. See, give it a shot. See how much you could bench. We should be zoicha das. Amen.